Hi guys, this is going to be a video tutorial on how to create your first Android application. I won't necessarily go into the details, but this is just to get your feet wet and you can go explore the SDK and documentation as you need. So, Android. iOS, I'm going to start with iOS has gotten a lot of hype about it, but what about Android? Android is Google's free operating system that they use, and it's just as good as iOS. Though user opinion kind of matters here, whether you're an Android user or an iOS user. But I mean, Android's really coming up. It'll probably match or even beat iOS in the future. And so developing applications for it will be there's a really good thumbs up here. You can make these applications for fun, for your convenience, or maybe you want to make them for a commercial reason. Maybe you want to make a commercial app and make some money off it. So this is really good. This is a really good way because, I mean, let's face it, not many people go down to their desktop Windows or Mac or desktop and go download buy applications for it on the desktop. Most people are all mobile users now. They have their calendar, their contacts, everything on their phone. And so right now we're in the age of mobile computing. So we want to make mobile applications for people to use. They can, or for you to use yourself. People can buy, etc. And so we're just going to get our feet wet here. It's not necessarily going to be a full-blown tutorial thing, like I'm going to explain every little bit of code. No, this is just to get your feet wet. Let's have it up and running, everything, make sure everything's working all right and everything. And if you have a problem, just go ahead and leave a comment down and I'll see what I can do to fix it. So first, before we actually can get to the code and everything, we're going to need to download a couple things. First and foremost, you're going to need Java because Android, the programming they use is mainly Java. Even if you're trying to use the C support for it, Java is the way to go. I have macOS 10 Lion, so it comes default with Java. But in case your operating system doesn't, go ahead on to java.com and go ahead, download it, install it. All's good. After that, you're going to need to go to developer.android.com and then click here SDK. Then download the one for your operating system here. And while you're doing that, I mean, Android's written in Java source code, and you can surely use any text editor you want for it. But you'd have to make ant builds, and it get really kind of messy dealing with all that stuff, trying to build a. So let's use an IDE or integrated development environment. The best I've seen so far in the integration with Android is Eclipse. So head on to eclipse.org, go to downloads, and download Eclipse IDE for Java developers. It'll already have your thing. It's, kind of 127 MB. Let it download, and all is good. And for your Android SDK, you might as well unpack it, or if you're on macOS or Linux, unpack it somewhere where you can use it, or Windows installs it somewhere. So, now we want to run Eclipse. And while this is loading, a quick note to Mac users, Eclipse, dragging and dropping the Eclipse application to your applications folder won't really work since it needs important files in the directory here. So instead what you could do is right click and hit make alias and then drag and drop that alias to your application folder. So like you can have it on the dock or in Launchpad here. Anyway, this is Eclipse. I have updates available, apparently. So, from here, it might seem a little overwhelming at first, but as you work through it, you'll get used to it. Right here is your Package Explorer. Here's a GFormula. It's actually a commercial application I'm working on, but that's beside the point. So we want to go to Preferences, go to Android, and enter the SDK location of your Android SDK. If you don't, hit browse and select the folder. And after you've done that, you want to run SDK ADV Manager, go to available packages, and it'll load all these things, and make sure you get all the SDK platforms and get the documentation as well. This is what I have right now, the compatibility package, some samples. Samples are really good if you're learning by the way, because it gives you a really in-depth explanation of everything. Your SDK platforms are the actual platform version you want. My Android phone actually runs 2.2, unfortunately, not up to 2.3 yet. Documentation is really helpful, and you need the SDK tools and platform tools. They're a must. It won't work without them. So anyway, while we're here, you want to set up a device here, and just go to hit new. I already created one. Give it a name, target it to whatever you want. Give it a file size. You can add some hardware if you really want. You really won't affect our application. So once it's created, you might as well you might as well start it now, because I mean it takes a while to boot up and everything. So when it's all boot up and everything, it should look something like this or something similar. Maybe the screen's a bit bigger. I just kind of scaled it down so it would fit on the screen. So you set that aside for a minute, and after you have installed all the SDK tools, let's get to the actual coding here. So in Eclipse, you want to go to File, File, New, Project. Then go to Android, Android Project. Hit Next. Let's call this the classic Hello World thing. And make sure you set the target to the target of your ADV here, so that else if you don't, then it'll prompt you to create a new one, and that just, you've seen how long it takes. So just kind of make sure that the target name for this and this is the same. Call the package name something you want. In this instance I'll call it tutorial.helloworld. Go. Actually, wait. And from here, just hit finish, and you'll see it on the left in the package explorer. A couple things. If you get the error, don't freak out. Whoops. There. And double click the file, and it should open up in a second. There we go. Yeah. See, it just kind of freaks out for a minute there. You should have no X's. If you do, then something's a problem. Leave a comment. I'll see what I can do about it. From here, you can see this is the Java source code. So say we run it right now. Let's just run it right now and see what happens. So right click on Hello World, go to Run As, and it'll if it doesn't say Android application, then go to Run Configurations, then under Android applications make a new one. Target, automatic, common, don't mess with any of that. That's good. So just hit Run As Android application. Has stuff on the console. Open, make sure you go to your emulator, and there we go. Our first Android application. But you might be thinking, this is boring. Yeah, it's really kind of boring. Hello World, hell yeah. That really gets kind of uninteresting. So let's spice this up a bit. Right, kind of expand this out into resources, layout, and then click on this main.xml. It'll take a second to load. And I'm just gonna, if you want to get all of these things out of the way, just kind of double click on this. There. So, now, let's zoom in a bit. Here we go. This is the layout of your main.xml file, which is, I'll show you in a second what it's called. So, this is boring. Let's kind of get rid of this. Just click on it, hit delete, or backspace. So, what do we want to add here? Let's make something that you'd enter your name and it says hello, your name. So go to text fields, drag. This is really cool. It's a really simple drag and drop thing. Just kind of drag and drop it, and boom, it's on there. Now go to form widgets. We want a little text view here. Might as well make it that big. We also need a button. Click the button size really doesn't matter, I'll just keep it like this. And right click on the Actually, yeah, just right click on this text field, the first thing we have, or the edit text, I should say. Hit edit ID and call it something like, I don't know, name, oops, name text, name field there. Okay. Text view, you might change that, right click, edit ID, let's call this name view. And then same for the button, let's call this button. It's really simple. And we do want to change the text of this, so just hit edit text, go to click new string, and then on the top here is the actual text that it'll say. Like say, actually, no, we want it to clear it. We want it blank. Just it's still there. Yeah, it's right there. It's just we can't see it, but don't worry, it'll be populated once we have it. Right click the button. Okay, so hit or click new string. Okay, what is it doing? Title this, I don't know, button. On this string, we'll call this, let's make fun, click me. Hit OK. Button. Okay. It says click me now. Awesome. You could have actually gone in the XML file and changed the text. There's a property here if you know XML. You could have changed this, but if you want to, you really should add support for localization of like different, meaning this click me is in English. So say you're in a Spanish speaking country. If you have that constant click me, if they don't understand English, then they won't understand what this does. So it's really good to have strings file so that you can localize it to, like right here, you can localize it to different countries, etc. So that's about it for this file. You want to save it. File save. Cool. Now go back to the hello world activity.java file. And now what we want to do is actually add some code. And Eclipse is really good with this kind of things. Just kind of type as I do. And then Eclipse offers an autocomplete function, which is hold control and press spacebar. And then you want this first one that says edit text dash android.widget. Click on that. Our edit text, we'll just call it name field equals. Just kind of copy as I do. Again, if you don't want to type all that long, hit control space and it'll autofill. R.id. Aha! We've seen this before because I told you to change the ID of it so that we could use it in our code. And, it was field and semicolon. We'll do the same thing, but this is a text view. Call this, whoops, name view. Text view. Go do then the button. It's simply button. Let's call this button. And this is case sensitive, by the way. So how I'm typing button with a capital B actually matters, because the compiler won't pick it up. Okay. Now we want to call button dot set on click listener view. Click. Go, just using that auto completion. Oh, error. If you usually get an error, just kind of hover your mouse over it. Yes, import. Okay, all's good. If it, I know in some cases it'll come up with a pop-up box and it'll tell you which import you want to add. Click the first one on the list that appears. And if you want to expand this, it should say import. One of these statements should be import android.view.onClickListener. That's what we want. So this is basically the buttons, what happens when the button's clicked. So what we want to do is set the name view. I'll set the text of the name view to say hello, and then your name, which you put in the name field. Text right there. Oops. Oh. Okay. There we go. What's this? Seems to be wanting. Oh yeah. If you get any errors, just kind of click. I forgot to do that. Really shouldn't have forgotten that, but that's the thing about Eclipse. It'll catch your syntax errors, tell you the best course of action, and you can go ahead and do that. So now we've done that. Save that. And, well, let's run it. Just double click on this again to see all the views again. Right click on Hello World. Run as Android application. Open your ADV. And type in your name. Say is John. Hello John. There we go. And it works, you can say with any name. Mary. Josh. You can just kind of keep doing this. It'll always change the name based on this text field. You click this, and there you go. You have your first interesting Android application here. And this is, I didn't really explain much of this really well because this is just to get your feet wet. If you really want to get into Android, if you're getting serious about Android programming, I suggest you learn the Java programming language, get a couple books, go through them, and especially go to Android SDK Dev Guide. This will save your life. It'll help you a bunch because it has a bunch of things, articles on like activities, some framework topics, medias, Android market topics, introductions to developing things, user interface, just a bunch of things that will help you become a better Android developer here. And so if you have any problems, because I know sometimes computers don't like people, if you encounter any problems with Eclipse or maybe downloading the SDK or something went wrong, go ahead and leave a comment and I'll see if I can replicate the problem and find a solution to this. Okay, so this is, that's it. This is how to, you just made your Android application. It works. You can actually now put it to your device. If you have an Android phone, you can go ahead and plug in your Android phone and click Run as Android application, and it should route it to your phone first. If it doesn't, then go ahead and exit out of this, and it should direct the application to your phone. Just go ahead and enter it. I know if you ever need to find it again, just hit the back button, go when you're at the home screen, it should be right here. Something like, yes, everything's fine, it works. Thanks for watching everyone, and make sure you hit that subscribe button you see above the video. Alright, good night.